Hello. So today I'm going to be answering the exciting question of, does the Isle of Man really have no tax? Well, the answer is yes and no. So let's start with the good news. It is true there is no capital gains tax here, none. So if you are an Isle of Man resident and not a UK resident, then you will pay no capital gains tax here at all. You can sell shares, you can sell crypto or other investments totally tax free. And on top of that, there's no inheritance tax either. We don't have a reduced rate, we don't have a threshold, it is just zero. Of course, if you're coming from the UK, where inheritance tax bites at 40%, and CGT can easily take 20% or more of your gain in tax, this is a very serious difference. Now, when it comes to income tax, things are a little bit more surprising. The top rate here is just 21%. So far, so good. There's no 40% band and there's no 45% band. And our personal allowance is actually more generous than the UK's. We don't start paying tax until we earn £14,750. So, on the face of it, our system clearly looks better. But unfortunately, there is a catch: national insurance. In the Isle of Man, NI kicks in at just £728 a month, which is around £8,700 a year. And we're paying 11% up to about 40,000. In the UK, national insurance starts much later at about £12,500 a year. And of course, the main rate is only 8%. So, while income tax is lower and flatter in the Isle of Man, NI hits earlier and harder, especially for lower and middle income earners. The result? Well, for those of us here earning around £38,000, which is roughly our median salary in the Isle of Man, they will actually pay more overall in tax in the Isle of Man than they would in the UK. The real tipping point in the Isle of Man is between £50,000 and £60,000 a year, and it's at this point when it becomes beneficial to be here rather than the UK. Because once you go above that, UK taxes rise sharply, but in the Isle of Man, it stays relatively flat. So for high earners, the difference becomes very real. So, is it worth moving here for tax? Well, if your income or assets make it worthwhile, then it is. But of course, people don't just move here for tax. They come because of the space, the safety, the quality of life. It is a very beautiful island. And of course, if you happen to enjoy lower taxes along the way, well, that's obviously a very nice bonus. Now, I'm Martin Katz, and I've been helping people to navigate cross-border tax, relocation, and structuring for over 30 years, especially focused on those people who are moving from the UK to the Isle of Man. So if you are a high earner, or you've built up assets, particularly things like crypto or shares, then it is true that the Isle of Man can offer meaningful long-term advantages for you. And this, of course, is especially true as the UK keeps tightening its grip. There is talk of potential future exit taxes. These are charges that would apply when you cease to be a UK resident. Rules like that already exist in Canada and Australia, for example. As well as that, of course, there's potentially ever wider capital gains tax and inheritance tax nets. It doesn't seem to be letting up at the moment. So the difference between staying in the UK or moving here to the Isle of Man could potentially be measured in hundreds of thousands of pounds. Now, if you're considering a move or just want to explore the numbers, then I'm always happy to have a conversation. So you'll find details of my website in the description below, and you can contact me by WhatsApp. And I've also put details in there of the current Isle of Man tax rates.